Hello students. So now third video, Indigo. So we have already reached to page number 50, and here Gandhiji got summons from the court. He was asked to appear in the court, and before going, Gandhiji spent full night to prepare for the court. In what way? He called actually Rajendra Prasad. He asked him to come from Patna. He asked many influential friends also to come because he thought that he may need their help. Then he sent a report to Viceroy, and then he sent some instructions to Ashram also, maybe telling them that it may now take some time for Gandhiji to return back. So now we are starting page number 50. Morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants. Now this para or this full page now is very important. Now what happened? Gandhiji was to appear in court, and when he went over there, he was surprised to see that there were thousands of people collected, gathered in front of the court. They did not know Gandhi's record in South Africa, though these people had no idea about Gandhiji's work, but they knew only one thing, that this man who is here to help them, now he needs help or he is in trouble. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. Their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. So underline this line. This is important because this is what Gandhiji wanted. This is what he had thought, that this is what he had discussed in Muzaffarpur, that first of all we should do something that these peasants, they are out of their fears. And now the same thing had happened, because without any instructions, any orders, these poor people from all over the area, they had come just to show their support for Gandhiji. So it was obvious that now they were no more afraid of Britishers. The officials felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. And now it was a big crowd. Maybe Britishers also had not seen Indians gathering like this, okay, against Britishers or in favor of somebody. So even they felt powerless. They didn't know how to control now this crowd. He helped them regulate the crowd, and that's why they had come to Gandhiji. They asked Gandhiji to help in maintaining this discipline, or we can say controlling the crowd. And Gandhiji, he was polite enough. He helped these British officials, okay, in controlling the crowd. Means he might have talked to them, he might have told them that no need to shout slogans, remain peaceful or whatever. But now crowd was ready to listen to Gandhiji. He was polite and friendly. He was giving them concrete proof that their might, hitherto dreaded and unquestioned, could be challenged by Indians. Now Gandhiji was very polite. He politely said, okay, I'm ready to help you to regulate the crowd. But in a way, when he was talking to Indians, he was telling them to remain silent and everything. But in a way, he was actually giving very concrete proof to these Britishers that your power, okay, which was always otherwise unquestioned, no one had ever dared to question you, but now the time has come when your power can be questioned. You people now can be challenged by Indians, because this was the proof. Where Indians had gathered, there was a large crowd and they were not showing any fear of these Britishers. So in a way, this was a message for the Britishers also, that now their power can be challenged. Now they cannot remain unquestioned. Now Indians can question them. The government was baffled. The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Apparently the authorities wished to consult their superiors. Now, the government was baffled because they had seen Indians gathering like this for the first time. And now they were puzzled. They didn't know what to do. Because the question was, if they give some verdict against Gandhiji, the crowd was there. And if they release Gandhiji, again maybe the message would be that Britishers are now afraid of Indians. So they never wanted to do that also. So that's why they wanted to consult first of all higher authorities before giving any verdict. Gandhiji protested against the delay. He read a statement pleading guilty. Now Gandhiji protested. He said, I don't want any delay. When I am here, you start the proceedings. So he read a statement pleading guilty. He was involved, he told the court, in a conflict of duties. He there read a statement and he accepted. He said, yes, I am guilty in the eyes of law. What he said? He said, actually, it was a conflict of duties for me. On one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. On the other hand, to render the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. Now, what was the conflict of duty? He said there were two duties for me to do. Now, I was to choose which duty is to be done. Okay, priority-wise, which duty should be done first. So, what were those two duties according to Gandhiji? He said one duty was not to set a bad example, okay, of a lawbreaker. He said I wanted to go according to law. And the other duty was to serve my own countrymen on humanitarian basis. Okay. And for him, he said, serving my own men will be national service. So these were two duties, to obey law or to do national service. He disregarded the order to leave. Now he said, naturally, I was to choose one duty, so I chose the second duty, to serve my own country on humanitarian basis, to serve my own countrymen. So he said, I chose this. But he said, that doesn't mean that I don't have any respect for law. He said, not for want of respect for lawful authority. Here want means lack of. He said, it's not that I chose second duty because there is lack of respect, okay, for law. He says, no. As a lawyer, I know that I should, or we all should, respect law, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience. But he said, even then, I chose second duty because here I heard the voice of my own conscience. So he said, naturally, there were two duties. One was to obey law and another was to serve my nation. And he said, I chose this second duty because this was the voice of my conscience. He asked the penalty due. And then he said, yes, in the eyes of court, I am guilty. I am ready for the penalty also. Okay, I am ready to pay the penalty. So you can go with your verdict. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after a 2-hour recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. Now judge, after this magistrate, he said, okay, I will give the verdict, but after 2 hours. And then he said, for 2 hours now you are free, but you will have to furnish for bail. Means you will have to apply for bail. Means in a formal way, bail will be granted to Gandhiji, then Gandhi will be allowed to go out. Otherwise, magistrate said, naturally proceeding will start now after 2 hours. Gandhi refused. Gandhiji said, no, I will not apply for bail because I am standing over here. Right now you can give the verdict. If you want some time gap, this is up to you. I never want any time gap. Okay, so he refused to apply for the bail. The judge released him without bail. Ultimately, judge had to surrender. He released Gandhiji for 2 hours without any paperwork. When the court reconvened, so after 2 hours, reconvene means again started, again they met in the court. The judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. Now after 2 hours even, judge said that now this verdict we are not giving today. Okay, after few days we will again meet over here, and Gandhiji was told that he would be intimated regarding the date, next date. Okay. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. So in this meantime, he said, you are at liberty, you can go back home, okay, but you will be here, okay, to appear in court at any time. Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, Maulana Mazharul Haq, and several other prominent lawyers had arrived from Bihar. They conferred with Gandhi. I mean, they had meeting with Gandhi. What would they do if he was sentenced to prison? Gandhi asked. Why? The senior lawyer replied. They had come to advise and help him. If he went to jail, there would be nobody to advise and they would go home. Now, in the meeting, Gandhiji asked, he said, suppose after a few days, again I will be naturally going to the court, and suppose I am arrested, I go to jail, then what you people would do? And the lawyer said, what we are to do? Then we will go back home because we are here to help you. And if you are in jail and you are not doing anything for this time being, naturally we will be back home. What about the injustice to the sharecroppers? Gandhi demanded. But Gandhi said, then what about these sharecroppers? Because I have come to fight for them. And suppose I go to jail, then who will fight for them? The lawyers withdrew to consult. Rajendra Prasad has recorded the upshot of their consultations. They thought, now afterwards Rajendra Prasad told what they had. Now they, without Gandhiji, they had their own meeting, these lawyers, okay. So after that meeting, this is what Rajendra Prasad told, that what they had consulted. They thought amongst themselves that Gandhi was totally a stranger, and yet he was prepared to go to prison for the sake of the peasants. If they, on the other hand, being not only residents of the adjoining districts, but also those who claim to have served these peasants, should go home, it would be shameful desertion. Now this is what they discussed in the meeting. Now they thought that how can we think of going back? Because Gandhiji, who had heard this Champaran name for the first time, even then he came over here, and even then now he's ready to be arrested for these peasants. So how can we think of going back? Because we are from this area only, we are from the adjoining area, and many peasants have hired us. Okay, we have taken huge fees from them. They are our clients also. So this will be a very shameful thing if we leave these peasants like this if Gandhiji is sent to jail. They accordingly went back to Gandhi and told him they were ready to follow him into jail. The battle of Champaran is won, he exclaimed. And now these lawyers, they met Gandhiji and they told that, don't worry, we are not going to go back. If you go to jail, we are ready to even follow you in jail. Okay, means we will be here with you. And Gandhiji said at that time, he said, I felt that maybe half of the battle of this Champaran is won. Because now lawyers have started thinking not as lawyers, but as Indians who were ready to help other poor people of India. Then he took a piece of paper and divided the group into pairs and put down the order in which each pair was to court arrest. So now the plans were made that if Gandhiji is sent to jail, how other people will also be there to follow Gandhiji. Several days later, Gandhi received a written communication from the magistrate. Now, naturally, they were waiting that any day they can get this summon again to appear. Now, what letter he got? This time he was waiting for the summons, but no summons, rather a written communication, written letter which said that the case against Gandhiji has been dropped. It had happened for the first time in India that Britishers, they surrendered like that. Civil disobedience had triumphed, the first time in modern India. So now Gandhiji said this way, civil disobedience. Naturally, openly Gandhiji had disobeyed law, but even then he was not arrested. So in a way, civil disobedience had triumphed. Triumphed means had won. Gandhi and the lawyers now proceeded to conduct a far-flung inquiry into the grievances of the farmer. Naturally, now when this case is dropped against Gandhiji, what does it show? What does it mean? It means that now Gandhiji is not to be sent back. Means Gandhiji can stay over there. So that's why then afterwards, now he freely stayed, and now openly he started collecting evidences against the Britishers. Depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written down. So he met these many people, and these many, you can say, recordings were done. People gave written complaints against Britishers. This way, all these evidences were now collected by Gandhiji. Depositions by about 10,000 peasants were written down and notes made on other evidence. Documents were collected. The whole area throbbed with the activity of the investigators and the vehement protests of the landlords. Though landlords mean Britishers, they were protesting why Gandhiji is collecting these evidences and all these things he's doing, but now Gandhiji was doing all these things. In June, Gandhi was summoned to Sir Edward Gate, the Lieutenant Governor. Before he went, again, in June he got a letter, to meet Lieutenant Governor. Now Gandhiji once again he thought that maybe from there he will be sent to jail. So that's why before he went, he met leading associates and again laid detailed plans for civil disobedience if he should not return. Again he planned that if he does not return, then how other people will follow him to jail. Gandhi had 4 protracted interviews. Protracted means very long, prolonged interviews with the Lieutenant Governor. 4 meetings means with the Lieutenant Governor, who as a result appointed an official commission of inquiry into the indigo sharecroppers situation. Now Gandhiji was successful in convincing this Lieutenant Governor that Britishers have done wrong thing and at least one commission should be made. So as a result, he appointed this commission. And who were there? The commission consisted of landlords, government officials, and Gandhi as the sole representative of the peasants. Landlords were there in this commission, and then government officials were there, and from the side of these peasants, Gandhi was there to represent them. Gandhi remained in Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months. Underline, you may get RTC. For how many months Gandhiji remained over there? So Gandhiji remained in Champaran for an initial uninterrupted period of 7 months and then again for several shorter visits. The visit undertaken casually on the entreaty of an unlettered peasant. Entreaty means request. Request of an unlettered peasant in the expectation that it would last a few days, occupied almost a year of Gandhi's life. This way, near about 1 year Gandhiji spent over here. First of all, 7 months in continuity he remained over here. Now commission was appointed and Gandhi was there to represent peasants. And now, in official way, inquiries were now made against Britishers on the basis of the complaints that were filed by the Indian poor peasants. I think we should stop over here. Rest of this chapter we can do in the next video, and I hope you are understanding it. But one thing, please watch the full video, because it's not that this is some movie and you are not liking it. No, this is for your marks. So watch full video. Thank you.